Still on the search of that one true love? On the limbo in this crazy world of dating, marriage, relationships? Well, listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, your one-stop podcast for everything about relationships.
Thank you for tuning into the GSMC Relationship Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Gloriann. Welcome back, guys. Today I'll be talking about working with family members or friends. Working with a family member or a friend can be challenging, either if it's a partnership or a boss-employee situation. You need to keep things clear between you two. When you're working with a friend or a family member, either you're hiring them or they're asking you for a job, or you guys want to open a business together. You need to be clear that work is work and it has nothing to do with your personal relationship with them. I'll be talking about first working with a friend, then I'll go to family, and then I'll be talking about pros and cons about working with family or friend. We all know that we need to work to survive and to pay our bills and to eat and to go on a trip, on a vacation with your family or your friends. Either as working in a big company or in a small business, you start to create a bond with your coworkers. Either if it's a love-hate relationship or a hate relationship or a love relationship, our coworkers can turn into our friends and even family. You see them almost every day, and you have conversations and see that you have a lot in common. You start to create a bond. We're all different, so working with a friend or a coworker that becomes your friend, you start to see that they're messy, that you're organized, or that they're always on time and you're late, that they're missing work or you're missing work. You may start to notice that you get along personally, but working, you see that it's not the same relationship. The interaction that you have with your friends, your coworkers, or your family members need to be separated, outside and inside work. You need to have a balance in your work and personal life. If you are hanging out with your friends and they start talking about work and you just want to relax, you don't want obviously to hear anything about work, you just want to talk about different things. Those are the type of things that you need to talk about with your friend at the beginning and set boundaries with them. And be honest that you don't want to talk about work in your free time. Your personal life can blend into your professional life. That happens even when you're at a restaurant. Like if you work at a restaurant and you see that and this customer comes every time, like they're a regular, that's another thing where they start becoming, you start to bond, you start to create a friendship with the customer as well. And that's another thing where they try to take advantage of you because they start thinking that you guys are friends. And that's another thing that you need to separate. Again, working with someone that is your friend or turning into your friend, you need to set the record straight and you need to separate what's friendship and what's work. You like it or not, relationships change and working relationships can have an effect in your personal relationship. Me personally, I've worked with friends. Friends have told me, hey, at my job, they're hiring, come send your resume. Obviously, working with a friend, it is hard. At the beginning, when I started working, this is gonna sound funny. My first job was in a shoe store and I do not like feet. So working in a shoe store, obviously I needed to deal with feet. But I got that job because one of my friends at the moment, she's my best friend now, she told me, hey, they're opening this new shoe store. I've worked with the owner a couple of times. They hired me as an assistant manager. I know that you're looking for a job. Bring your resume and, let's see how it goes. So I did. I went, I brought my resume to the manager. It was the owner at the time. That still is, by the way. And, she was really nice. She took a chance on me. It was my first job. So when I started working, they were all really nice. And we all know that once you start in a job, everything's perfect. And it's like, oh my God, everything's so cool. Everybody's so nice. Obviously, when you start to be there a longer time, you start to see people's true characteristics. I can say that working there, I made good friendships. My friend, we created a stronger bond. And I can say that two other girls, one of them is one of my close friends as well. She lives in Spain now. And even though I quit 5 years ago, we still have conversations. We still talk. We still, she calls me for her issues. I call her. It's mutual support, even though she's in Spain and I'm here in Florida. And then the other relationship that I made was a girl that I met there that she's super nice, and she became my best friend as well. We have a lot of things in common. And I can say that even though that job was not the best, I did create a good relationship. But obviously, working with friends, it becomes a struggle because you start to see, okay, so the girl that I met, that is now my best friend, she's a good salesperson. So she quickly got a promotion. They promoted her to assistant manager. And then obviously I was still on the floor. And my other best friend, she was the cashier, assistant manager. They always took a chance on her. And with me, they never took a chance, I can say. So you start to, even though you don't want to, you start to get a little bit jealous about the situation. And it's like, okay, so I have to work harder, or I have to do this, or I have to do that. So it was more a little bit of competition, even though I didn't want to have a competition with with my friends. It was. Anyway, long story short, I quit because they suspended me 2 weeks just because it was really a misunderstanding. They thought that I gave them a paper that I needed to take off, and I guess they never filled out the right form, or the dates that they put were the wrong ones. Guys, this was 5 years ago, so I don't really remember the details, but I do remember that when I got suspended, it was one of my best friends, the friend that told me, hey, bring your resume. Since she was the assistant manager, they needed a witness as well. So when they're talking to me, hey, you did this and that, you missed work. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I put my days in. I did everything correct. And, at least I had the proof because I had an email. So it was their fault. But since I missed those days at work, they suspended me. So obviously my friend, I'm repeating myself, I'm sorry. Okay, so she's the witness, she signs everything, and since she's my friend, she felt so bad. She's like, oh my God, they suspended you, I'm so sorry, I don't know why they put me in that uncomfortable situation. She thought that because of that, because of our personal relationship, I was gonna be mad at her, and I wasn't. I told her, hey, this is work, this is a professional life, it's all good, I'm just pissed off, and it's not at you, it's at them because they made the mistake, but I'm the one suffering the consequences. When my suspension was up, I literally gave my 2-week notice, and I told them, you guys were the ones that mixed up, and I was the one that needed that, and I was the one who suffered the consequences. Here's my 2 weeks notice. I cannot work in an environment that is so toxic as well. I quit, and I left. My manager they were surprised. My like the whole family, they were surprised that I quit because they didn't really expect it. So when I quit, that at the my last day, they sent me, they gave me my check for the vacations and sick days and all of that, those days that I didn't take. And the last day they gave me a letter, and I'm here like, what is this? So when I opened the letter, it was an apology from all of them saying, we're so sorry about the misunderstanding. We honestly didn't want you to quit. I hope that you have, they told me like, best wishes in your future. And we apologize for the misunderstanding. We honestly didn't want you to take the decision of quitting. Anyways, the point is like at the end, when I quit, they knew that they made a mistake. But the point in this is my friend, how bad she felt, because she couldn't separate at the time what is professionally, that work is work and personal life is our personal life. So she thought that I was going to be mad at her and that we were going to lose our friendship. And no, hey, we're still friends. We're best friends. So obviously she was worrying for nothing. Another experience that I have is right now I'm working at a restaurant, and I made friends, and I can tell you there's one coworker that she's really nice, but she does take advantage of our friendship. Why, you may ask? Because every time that she can work, she calls me up, or like she calls somebody, hey, can you work for me because I can't go? Oh, she starts looking for these excuses. And at my work, they haven't written her up for this, and she's always doing the exact same thing. She's always calling out or coming in late. And don't get me wrong, she's a really good friend. She's there for you. She's always been there for you. Ever since I know her, she's a really nice person. But her work ethic, it is not the best. Because the fact that you're always missing work, and if I have plans, I don't mind the fact, I can understand that we all go through things, unexpected things, but every week, come on. And obviously, if I have plans or something, or I'm taking a personal day off, and then they call me, or she calls me, hey, can you work for me because I can't go to work? It's like, you being irresponsible is affecting my life and my personal life. The fact that we're friends doesn't mean, I can give you a hand, but doesn't mean that you're going to take the whole body to keep working your shifts. And that's one of the things why I get mad at some people, because it's the fact of not having a good work ethic, and the fact that they don't have a good work ethic, they do get rewarded by that, especially at my job. There's this other girl at my job that she's always late, and every time that I work at a restaurant, so every time she has they always give her the good tables, and she gets away. She can get away with murder at my workplace. Another experience that I have with working with friends, I've worked with a lot of friends. I've only had 4 jobs, and my second job, it was in a restaurant, in a wine restaurant, and I was working with one of my friends, one of my best friend's girlfriends. I was working with her. She told me like, hey, they're hiring at my job, like, come work with me. She's super nice. I don't have anything against her, but seeing her work is totally different than hanging out with her. At work, she was a really good employee, but at the same time, she took advantage that she was a good employee. All the customers love her. All the customers were like, oh, hey, what's up? Hey, can you take care of us? Hey, this and that. Because she knew how to do her job. But she took advantage of the situation because her boss knew that she was a good employee. So every time she needed off, it was like, hey, I'll not even given the 2 weeks notice. It's like, hey, I'm leaving this day. So yeah, somebody needs to replace me. or she called last minute. Oh, hey, I'm at the beach. I can't go to work right now. Or like, I'll be late. And you're like, really, girl? Like, you work really good. And then obviously our boss, didn't say anything to her because it's like, okay, she works good. Those are some experiences that I have working with friends for now. But I just want to say that when you're in your workplace, you make friends. You see each other almost every day. You both start to share certain things. But there's a limit of being a friend and being a coworker. The way you act at work doesn't mean that you're like that personally. You need to separate work and your personal life. And obviously you can't really make your personal life affect your work life. That's another thing that you need to understand, and like everybody has to understand. The same with family. The difference is that with family, you get to see them all the time, and if something happens, it can affect the family as well. With that, up next, I'll be talking about working with family members.
The GSMC Sex Podcast is a show that examines all aspects of sexuality, from physical to emotional to spiritual. Join our hosts as they discuss age-old questions, common misconceptions, and the latest topics surrounding sex. They'll tackle topics about sexuality from the complicated to the hilarious and everything in between. GSMC Sex Podcast is your show for all of your questions about sex, even some you might not have thought of yet. Download the GSMC Sex Podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you can find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Welcome back. As you know, in today's podcast, I'm talking about working with your friends and family. I talked about working with friends a little bit, and I told you my experiences. Now, I'll be talking about working with a family member. If it's your parent, your sibling, your cousin, uncle, aunt, whomever, working with a family member can be challenging because you don't know the difference, or you don't know how to separate professionalism and family. Sometimes family members tend to take things really personal, and it can affect your relationship completely. Let's say you started in your family business, or you're working with a family member, or you have your own business. One thing you need to know is that you need to be in the same page with your family. You need to talk and set some boundaries, because obviously if they're working with you or you're working with them, you need to say, hey, we need to separate what is family and what is working together. When making decisions, you need the same objectives, because if not, there's going to be a lot of disagreements, which that's what you want to avoid. You need to define the relationship. Yes, like a love relationship, you need to define the relationship. Let's say you started working in your parents' restaurant and your uncle is the manager. You need to respect him as a manager, not as your fun uncle, or like, oh, he's my uncle. At work, you need to take your responsibilities serious and be professional. The same thing goes when your friend is your boss or manager or superior. If you are the boss or manager, don't be afraid of taking people accountable. Work is work, and your friends and family need to understand that when it comes to responsibility, you're picking your job first instead of your friendship or your relationship, your family relationship, whatever the situation. you need to understand as well, if your superior is someone that you have a relationship close to, that if you do something wrong, you're gonna get punished. You're not gonna get do not expect special treatment. And just the same way around, don't treat your friends or family member different. Treat them fair and consistent, like how would you treat other employees. Not giving them special treatment just because the close relationship that you guys have. It goes the other way around, because if you don't treat them fair or they don't treat you fair, other employees are gonna start noticing and they will resent you because of the type of treatment that you're receiving or you're giving. An example of that can be, okay, you work at a restaurant, right? You're working at your parents' restaurant and you called out in a busy night. And your uncle says, oh, okay, no worry, it's okay, we'll manage. And obviously you come in the next day, you don't get accountable for it, you don't get written up, you don't get suspended. But when another employee calls and they say they're going to be missing work, then you see that your uncle is being like really strict with them and telling them like, oh, we're busy, we need you right now, or I'm going to write you up, or you're going to lose your job. Your uncle obviously is playing the favoritism game, and you as a person are letting it happen as well, which later, it obviously can bring problems. Keep your personal matters personal and your work matters at work. Problems that you have with your family and friends, when you're at work, you let it outside and you concentrate on work. In my family, my grandfather had his own company and my mom worked with him, my uncles worked with him, and my mom and him, their relationship at first, and not at first, but their relationship as I remember, they were always talking about work. Always, always, always. Family reunion, or we went to grandparents were taking care of me and my mom picked me up. It was always this talking about work, work, work. It was never like a normal conversation. And my mom, I can say that she got special treatment, just like her brothers as well, like my uncles. When my grandma couldn't take care of me anymore or pick me up from school because she was taking care of her mom, my great-grandmother. Yes, I was lucky and I got to meet my great-grandmother. When my mom had to pick me up from when my mom had to pick me up from school, she worked 8 to 2 p.m., but they were paying her until 5 p.m. She was a full-time employee, so she was getting paid even though she wasn't there until 5. So obviously that's a special treatment right there. And my grandparents, my grandfather, with my uncles, at least with my uncle, he, the oldest child, he took advantage as well, because it was like, oh, Dad, I'm not coming to work. Oh, hey, I'm missing work. Or he just didn't even call. It was like, yeah, nope, I'm staying home sleeping. He obviously, it brought a lot of problems, at least in his side, because he wasn't really never at work. And he was never written up. He was never, he was just taking advantage of the situation because, well, his dad was the boss. And nobody else nobody else can do anything because that's the boss kid. Obviously, a lot of employees did resent my uncle. And at the same time, he knew what he was doing. Then my other uncle, this is where it gets interesting, because my other uncle, he was one of the managers for one of the projects, and my grandfather gave him a lot of responsibilities, which obviously he could do it, but a lot of people didn't respect him because they were thinking like, oh, he's the boss son, he got this job just because of that, he's not qualified, he didn't do the normal, he didn't go through a normal interview. He was just like, hey, Dad, I graduated. Oh, here, son, here's your job. So obviously a lot of people didn't respect him in the project that he was doing. And when my grandfather closes the company, my uncle, he lost his job, obviously, and he got really pissed off with my grandfather because it's like, oh, why you did this, blah, blah. Like, I was going to take care of the company. And my grandfather was, it's it's not that. It's just a different environment now. And, we're not making the same money, and we needed to make a decision. So the decision is that the company's closing down. That decision, I can say it separated my whole family, because I don't talk to my uncle. I don't talk to my uncle, and we did talk a lot. But once my grandfather decided that, everybody took sides on my family, and a lot of them took my grandfather's side, and only 2 took my uncle's side. And everybody said the exact same thing. Oh, you're gonna find another job. You just need to learn that everything in life you're not gonna have, blah, blah. So obviously nobody knows anything from my uncle. It's really rare that we hear from him. And we only know that he's doing well because of my cousin. And sometimes when I text him, he answers me, and sometimes he just doesn't. In another experience, I can say that in the shoe place that I worked, since it was a family company, I saw a lot of things happen, and it was more about playing favorites. The older sister, since she worked hard, her parents were like, oh, we need to do this. Her parents always gave her a lot of responsibilities. And then her little sister, when she wanted off, she took off. She didn't even say, like, in her schedule, she was scheduled like at 10. She would never appear, or she would arrive like at 2 p.m. And like her father asked her, like, where are you? Where were you? Like, we texted you, we called you. She's like, no, I was at the beach, or no, I was sleeping at home, or oh, I didn't want to come at that time. They let her slide with a lot of things, and her sister was always pissed off because it's like, oh, I'm working hard, I'm doing everything for the company, but she's just messing around. And a lot of the little sister did take advantage a lot, because you even saw her, like, she was in her shift and she just left to do her nails. Like, nobody told her anything, or she just left. She took money from the cash register and she leaves to either shop or paint her nails, do her hair, because obviously, like, where the store is in a little shopping center. So she did whatever she wanted, and her parents did not say anything to her. And her sister really did get pissed off, because it was like, okay, so she's working, but she's really not working. Why are we paying her? And I remember that they had this fight, like the 2 sisters, in the middle of the store. Like, all of the employees were on the floor. At least there wasn't any customers, but she started saying to, like, the big sister started saying to the little sister, is like, I don't even know why we're paying you to work, because you don't even work here. Like, you're just taking advantage of mom and dad. You're stealing our money. And her little sister says, I'm not stealing nobody's money. Like, that's my money. Like, this is how, like, spoiled she was. She's like, I'm not stealing, like, no money. That's my money too. Like, you do the exact same thing. And the big sister said, when have I ever taking money from the cash register to do my nails? Never. I don't even do my nails. So it was this whole big fight between these 2 sisters. And then when her dad came in, their dad was like really quiet. When he came in, he's like, we all need to talk. And then they went and started talking. Let's just say that when they come back, it was the old sister that came back with a smile on her face, and the little sister punched out and left. So I don't know what really happened there, but since that fight, I remember that she was not working anymore. Like, she was just like, nope, she just was there to help out. So now that's somebody that, obviously, that's a good example of somebody that takes advantage of the fact that they know the boss, they're abusing their power. Because you're telling me that in the middle of your shift, your parents are paying you to work and you leave just to do your nails or your hair or go shopping. Or you came in and at the middle of your shift, you just left. You punched out and left because your friends call you to hang out. I'm here like, oh, okay. And this is all like, I'm this like, just being there, and I'm like, wow, they can do like a TV show from these people, how dramatic they are. But obviously that's why you need to be really careful when working with family, because as you can see, they could take advantage of you. And it all depends on you as a person, saying to them, hey, I need you to do this. You need to define the job titles, the duties, and the responsibilities that they have at work. Working with a family member or friend doesn't need to be hard. You can talk to each other and say your worries. Of course, you'll have this open window of ruining your relationship with your family member or friend, but at the same time, you can make it stronger. You just need to be clear in everything and write everything down and sign so there's no misunderstanding. If you don't want to hire them because you know how they are, you know how they work, that's fine. You just need to tell them the truth and why. Sometimes it's better not to mix business with pleasure because of all the drama that it can cause working with a family member or a friend. You just want to work in peace or have and obviously, if there's drama and you work, that's another thing that you have to think about. If you hire or you're working in your friends or in your family's business, or they're working with you in your business, you can't really have any drama, because then it starts being a toxic place. And you don't want your employees to feel uncomfortable in their workplace, because sometimes some people just come into work to get distracted. Well, obviously paying bills as well, but they get there to get distracted and not have any drama. Because we all have our issues and our problems. So with that, up next, I'll be talking about the pros and cons of working with a family member.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Alrighty, welcome back. I've been talking about working with friends and family and telling you experiences close to me. Now I'll be talking a little bit of the pros and cons of working with family, especially if you have your own business. There's a lot of benefits in having family members working with you. including saving money, but there are negatives as well. You can have someone that you can trust, but in the other, the relationship can be unprofessional. First things first, you will have someone that knows you and that they can be honest with. If there's a problem, like someone is stealing or an employee was rude to a customer, you know that they will tell you. They wouldn't do anything to harm your business, and they will be dedicated to it because they want it to succeed, and they want you to succeed. Sometimes family members have the same way of thinking that could help you a lot in your business, especially if you have a doubt in something. You can always ask them for their opinion, and they will be honest, and you guys can even make a game plan on how to make it better. A big pro is obviously that you can help your family member and they can get the experience as well. An example is when your children can work or when your niece and nephews can work, you can hire them or at least show them how to have a good work ethic in their future. Family is supposed to help each other in good and in bad times. Having them work with you, a positive thing as well, because they can be more flexible with their availability and they feel secure that they're gonna have their job for a while, and it can mean more loyalty to you as well. The cons are work never goes away if you don't set your boundaries right. You will be talking about work day and night with your family. Another thing is that they may resent you because you didn't treat them the correct way or you weren't fair to them. Of course, you need to be careful because they can abuse the relationship and not follow rules, not having a good work ethic, and when you call their attention or write them up, they get mad. That is why it's important to have a clear understanding on hiring or working with family members. Working with them can affect your relationship, and if you need to fire them or they quit for whatever reason, it can affect your personal relationship and even the whole family, because everybody will want to take sides and that could separate the family. As I told you, my uncle and my grandfather, they had that problem that he lost his job. My uncle lost his job because of my grandfather was going to close the company, and obviously everybody took sides in the family, and that affected us in a big way. As I said in the beginning, again, nobody talks to my uncle, only two people. And my grandfather, he doesn't even talk. Like my uncle, he took it really personal, especially with his mom, my grandma. My grandma had nothing to do with it, nothing. And he doesn't talk to her. He moved from Puerto Rico and he really doesn't talk to nobody. It's more like a acquaintance relationship because we have him on social media, and when it's our birthday or something, it's like, oh, happy birthday. And that's it. No more information, nothing else. Like, hey, how are you? Hope you're well. Like, or even calls us, like, at least once a year. Nothing like that. But I know that he's hurt, and at one point, I know that he will see that things happen for a reason. And another experience or another story that I have is right now is I have this friend that he's working with his dad, and he's obviously studying something else, and his dad is working in another company, in a big company, but he's the manager in this company. And he hired his son to work for him because they needed help. And so his son is like doing the part-time job meanwhile he's studying. And they have a lot of confrontations at work. Like they clash a lot because obviously he's the manager's son, so he needs to always be presentable and not be rude and always be on time. Like his dad, when he hired him, he put his foot down and said, okay, you're gonna be working for me, but I'm not gonna give you like special treatment. I am not going to let you slide. If you're late, I'm gonna treat you like any other employee. And I do know that my friend, he takes his job really serious, because even though when we hang out and he has work the next day, he's like, oh, I have to leave because then my dad's gonna have a flip. The fact that his dad put his foot down in the beginning, he is conscious about having a good work ethic. And the other day, I remember, like, we were talking, and he's gonna finish his degree soon. And he was telling me, like, I don't know how to tell my dad that I want to quit. I'm looking at him like, okay, that's okay. That's something that you need to worry about. Because he's like, yeah, I don't want him to think that I'm quitting because he's hard on me and anything. It's just the fact that I want to have more experience, especially in what I studied for. I don't want to be working with him anymore. And then he told me, like, and at the same time, our relationship, I do like working with my dad because our relationship and our bond has grown. But at the same time, I don't want him to feel that I'm leaving him behind when I'm not. At the same time, he does feel that in his workplace, they do treat him like the manager's son. Like, oh, he just got this job because we needed help. That's it. He didn't pass the interview process. They just hired him on the spot. And there's a lot of coworkers that say to him, if he does a good job or something, it's like, oh wow, you did a good job. I didn't think that you would, because obviously they see him as you have the job because your dad's the manager. That's it. It's not because you have the experience. It's not because you're qualified for it. And I remember when he started at the beginning, he was telling me that, yeah, I don't have any friends. Like, coworkers, they don't even want to eat with me because they see me as the manager's son. And they're scared that I'm gonna snitch them if they do something or say something. That's another thing of working for somebody who has power. Your coworkers either are not going to take you serious, or they're going to take you too serious, and they don't want to tell you anything or any of their problems because they think you're going to tell, they think they're going to tell the person that that has power because you know them, because they're close. That's why you just have to think when you're hiring somebody, when you're hiring a family member or a friend, because you don't know how your employees are gonna be affected by it as well. I don't know if you guys are understanding me. It's like, if they work for you, they can take advantage of the situation, and not really, they're just gonna get paid to be sitting down in their chair, or they're gonna feel, or like the employees are gonna feel like, oh, he got hired because he's the boss's son, or he's a family member of the supervisor, of a family member of somebody that knows somebody. Like, they're not qualified for this job, or they didn't do the interview process. A lot of people are gonna feel that the person that you hired had an abuse of power. And I can say as well that I have another experience. Oh God, I have a lot of experience. It's not even funny. When I started my second job, they hired me, and then maybe like a month or 2 months after, they hired the boss's nephew to work for us. And being there, it was weird because obviously it's the boss's nephew. Like, they talk. They had a really good relationship. And I started feeling like that person was going to take over my job. Because at the moment when he got hired, there was no one, we didn't need another person. So, and the last person to get hired was me. So I thought that I was doing a bad job, so that's why they hired this person. They hired this person and I was going to lose my job. And I was really insecure. And every time I worked, it was like, okay, I have to do like extra effort, or I have to do this, I have to do that. And at the end, it was really frustrating because it's the fact like, oh my God, I need this job. I need to, I need to save up money. It was funny because they hired the nephew's boss, but they just hired him because his mom talked to her brother and said, hey, this guy needs to do something with his life. He can't be staying around in the house doing nothing. So they just hired him just because of the fact that he wasn't doing anything and his mom was just getting pissed off at him. So obviously I didn't lose my job. My boss's nephew, he did a really good job. He obviously then they fired another person because he saw something and he told his uncle like, hey, just so you know, I saw this and I want you to know. It was funny because when he was going to tell his uncle, he told everybody, hey, I'm telling my uncle, but I don't want anybody to feel like I'm snitching on them. And everybody was really understanding because it was like, yeah, this person did something wrong. You do need to tell them. Because the only person that dared to tell our boss was him because of the trust that he has with him. So that's another positive thing on why to have your like a family member, because if your employees don't have the trust because for whatever reason you haven't given your employees that trust, or like they don't feel confident in telling you that, your family members will, because they don't care if you yelled at them or if you fire them or get mad at them, because at the end of the night, you know that it came from a good place. It wasn't anything to harm you. It was just to do something good for you. In conclusion, it doesn't matter if you're the boss or the employee. Working with a family member or a friend can be hard. And you'll have your struggles because it's not the same having a work relationship than having a personal relationship with them. Sometimes it's difficult to separate what's work and what is personal, and we can take advantage of the situation. Sometimes you can get too comfortable, and it happens. You just need to think about the consequences, but as a positive, you can work side by side with someone that you love and that they will help you to be successful, but you need to establish your boundaries and have a healthy communication with them. I've talked about the experiences that I've had. I'm pretty sure that a lot of you had similar experiences or maybe even crazier experiences. But up next, I'll be talking about how to tell your friend that their partner is cheating on them.
Are you tired of the same old news? Are you sick of the seemingly endless political spin and negativity? The GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast is a weekly news podcast covering all the top positive and uplifting news stories. We cover stories that will inspire, uplift, and remind you of the good in the world. Tune into the Golden State Media Concepts America's Still Beautiful podcast to get all the great and positive news stories of today. Download the GSMC America's Still Beautiful podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, or anywhere you find podcasts. Just type GSMC in the search bar.
Finally, to end today's podcast, I'll be talking about how to tell your friends that their partner is cheating on them. Having a friendship means that you will always have someone to talk to hang out, and someone that even becomes family. You'll always have their back, basically. You give this person all your trust, and you expect the same from them. But what happens when you must tell them something bad or give them tough love? A real friend will be mad at you at first, but then they will get over it because they know that you had their best intentions for them. I know some people don't like others telling them the reality, but we need to, so they are conscious about what's happening in their life. Telling your friend that their partner is cheating on them is not easy as telling them, hey, let's go for ice cream, or hey, that blouse doesn't look good on you, or hey, I don't want to go out tonight, or hey, something came up, I can't go to the trip or to the road trip, different types of things, etc. Telling them that their boyfriend or girlfriend is cheating on them can be awkward and uncomfortable because you know that your relationship with them will either be strong or you're going to lose them. Of course, you need to decide first, either telling them or getting yourself or not getting yourself into that relationship. If you do decide to tell them, be emotionally and mentally ready, because it could go wrong. Telling this kind of news to a friend, you need to be sure that their partner is really cheating on them. You need all the proof that you can get, videos, pictures, text message, or direct message right now with social media. If you saw them, be sure that that person that you saw them with is not a relative or a coworker. Of course, if you see them holding hands and kissing, then obviously that's not normal and they're cheating on them. Right now, there's a lot of people that are trying to do the open relationship with their partner. You need to know a little bit more about the relationship before telling them something, because it could put you in a weird position, especially your friend's gonna tell you, hey, this is something that you're not supposed to be, you put your nose in. As all decisions that you make in your life, you need to think about the pros and the cons. For you, it may be the right thing to do because that's what you will like your friends to do for you, but you need to think how it would affect the other person. That's why you need to put yourself in their shoes. If your friend got cheated on before, this will ruin their self-esteem even more. Or if you don't tell them, then you may feel like a bad friend. Having this big of a secret, you can't be talking it with everybody. I know that you want to know what to do, but if you do talk to somebody about it, especially a mutual friend, you risk yourself to someone else telling your friend that their partner is cheating on them, plus that you knew and you were talking about it. Obviously, your friend's not going to see it as, oh, I was trying to take advice from somebody else. That person's just going to think, oh, you were just gossiping about me, like that's not a true friend. So it's a tricky situation to tell your friend that their partner is cheating on them. If you decide to tell them, talk to them and tell them, hey, we need to talk alone. When's the best time to talk? Emphasize that you want to talk in person, because this type of news you can say by text message or in a Zoom call or by the phone. You need to do it face to face. You need to approach this topic with tweezers. It's not easy telling someone that their partner is cheating on them. That's why you need to ask about how the relationship is going and what it holds for the future. You never know. Maybe this person will say to you, yeah, we're taking a little break because the relationship is really not going nowhere, or maybe they will tell you, we're being really distant. I don't know what's happening between us. Maybe they can even tell you, yeah, we're doing the open relationship for a little while just to see how we feel being with other people. And obviously, they may even tell you, yeah, we were talking yesterday about moving in together and getting married soon. So obviously, you need to take this topic with tweezers, because there's a really big chance that your friend is not going to believe you and they're going to take their partner's side, especially when they ask them about it. Of course, the partner is always going to say to them, no, that's not true. I don't know what she's talking about or he's talking about. Don't believe them. And of course, I don't know, love blinds us and we believe that person. If you have the proof, ask them if they want to see it or not. Some people will say yes, others will say no because they're just pissed off. Sometimes people may have suspicions that their significant other is cheating on them because of the way they're acting, or they're so blinded by love that they think that their couple is not capable of cheating on them. They are not going to believe you and even not talk to you anymore. If you really decide to tell them, it's important to tell your friend that you are there for them and that you care about them, and whatever decision they make, you will support them. If it's either breaking up with the cheater or staying with them, you will be there for them. Sometimes they won't believe you at first, and that's okay. It's a normal reaction when we get bad news. Some people believe that their relationship is okay and it's perfect, and their partner is not capable of cheating. They are obviously in denial, and it's a normal reaction when telling them an information like that. There's a big possibility that your friend will pick their partner's side instead of believing you. You can't take it personal. You did what you thought it was best for them, and that person will decide to finish your friendship. Let them. At one point, they're going to see that they made a really big mistake, but at least you know, at least in your conscience, you're clear that you let them know and tell them, I'll always be here for you, even though if you want to not talk anymore. You can control what happens if you decide to tell someone that their partner is being unfaithful. And if they do break up, you shouldn't have any guilt or blame because their partner made the decision of not being honest with them. You decided to make it right even though it's not your relationship. Some people don't even get involved because of how dramatic and messy it can get. That's why you need to think and make the right decision for you and your friend. And obviously, if your friendship ends, don't feel bad and don't regret your decision. Never regret the decisions that you make, because obviously you were trying to help them out, that the person doesn't really care about them, because once your partner cheats on you, it's either because they don't know what they want or they just feel like they can't talk to you about what's going on in their, how they're feeling. In my experience, I've talked about this in the podcast of breaking up with your partner. My best friend told me that my first boyfriend cheated on me with somebody in our class. We were in senior skip day, and we were all there. He cheated on me with a classmate. And when they decided to tell me, when I say they, I was in a conference call with my two best friends, my guy best friend and my girl best friend in high school, and they decided to tell me. The one that knew the information was my girl best friend, because she was friend with the classmate that my first boyfriend cheated on me with. And I'm pretty sure she said it to her just to hurt me, because I don't know why she always had this competition with me. And I just knew that she did it on purpose. So my best friend, she was just feeling like, I don't know how to tell her, if to tell her. So my guy best friend was like, no, we have to tell her because Gloriann doesn't deserve that. So obviously he told me. At first I was like, wait, what? And obviously I felt all the rage. I was so, I was devastated. I was sad. I felt that I wasn't good enough. And my friends supported me a lot with this. Especially when I told them that I was going to get back together with him, my best friend told me no, because cheaters will always be cheaters. And that's true. Cheaters will always be cheaters. And obviously, my best friend was always there supporting me, even though he hated this guy's gut. We were all in the same class, but he hated this guy. And so anyway, I've always had a low self-esteem, especially when I was little. They did a lot of bullying to me because I have so much hair. that they were just bullying me all the time, and they were telling me that I was ugly or that I looked like Chewbacca. So obviously, once I know that this person cheated on me with, my insecurities start to appear again. Long story short, once I broke up with him again, and finally, my best friend was so happy because obviously he was like, oh, finally, that guy didn't deserve you. You were too good enough for him. Later on, as I said in the other podcast, I was dating another guy and he was totally different. My best friend got along with him, with my second boyfriend. It was like they were besties. They were like bros. But at the time, my best friend was dating a girl as well. And she was jealous of the friendship that I had with my best friend, because my best friend at that time, I should correct myself. My best friend at that time, him and I, we were like brother and sister. And I guess she was jealous of that relationship that I had with him. And I remember that I was with my boyfriend at the time, my second boyfriend. I remember that I was with my second boyfriend and he was on his phone all the time. We were watching a movie and it was so unusual of him being on his phone. And what's up? Like, you're acting really weird today. And he showed me the text messages, and I didn't even ask him. I honestly didn't care. But when he showed me, and he's like, oh, this girl, your best friend's girlfriend, she's texting me, and look what she's texting me. And I'm reading these text messages and I'm like, that's not normal. And I'm like, why then? And it created a fight with us, because I was like, why are then you answering her, and why are you so in your phone? Just ignore her, especially because you're with me and she's with my best friend. Like, no. Anyways, the conversation, he's like, yeah, you're right, blah, blah. Later on, this girl is still texting him. Like, she was literally, she was flirting with him and trying to, I guess, I don't know what it was, to be honest, but she was just like flirting a lot, and, oh, I want to see you, oh, I love you, blah, blah. And I'm like, what is this? Anyway, so I went and talked to my best friend about it. He didn't believe me at all. He said to me, that's not true. That's you being insecure because of the fact, because he knew that my first boyfriend cheated on me with. He's like, that's not true. She's not doing that, blah, blah, blah. And so when he told me that, I was like, are you kidding me right now? Like, they show me the text messages. It's weird the way that she's talking to him. And he was like, no, that's how the way she is. She talks like that to everybody. And I'm like, yeah, no, she doesn't. But okay. Anyways, our relationship, our friendship started to get, we both started to get distance between us. And I was fighting all the time with my boyfriend, because it was like, you're texting this girl, you need to stop. Like, it's not normal. And my second boyfriend, he didn't see it as something bad until they met up in a Starbucks, and she said to her something. I don't remember what it was, honestly. I just remember my second boyfriend telling me, yeah, you were right, I'm gonna stop talking to her. And I remember that when we broke up, oh my god, this girl was all over him. And I was telling my best friend, this is not normal. Like, why you keep letting this happen? He's like, no, I trust her, blah, blah. And I'm here like, oh my god, are you kidding me? So anyways, him and I, our friendship got ruined because this girl was doing this and he was just falling head over heels for her. And I remember last time I saw him, because again, we were in the same class together. We were in the same class. So I hang out with some people. We have mutual friends in common. So I saw my friends and he was there. We were hanging out and he was there. She wasn't there, thanks to God. But he was there and we talked, and he told me, hey, I need to apologize to you. And I'm like, why? And he told me, yeah, do you remember what happened about your ex-boyfriend and this one? And I'm like, yeah. She told me that it was true. And obviously time always gives you the reason. At this moment, I was like, oh, thank you. everybody was telling me that I was crazy, but no, she was being the psychopath here. Anyways, the point is, our friendship got ruined because of that. And I'm telling you this story because the point is, when he told me that my boyfriend was cheating on me, I believed him. And I know it's not the same, but when I told him that his girlfriend was being flirtatious and hitting on my boyfriend, he didn't believe me. So the point is that you have to be really careful what to say and whom to say it to as well. Because my friendship got ruined because I decided to tell my best friend what was happening in my relationship with his girlfriend, but he just decided not to believe me. Anyway, that's all I have to say for now. And as always, I hope that you enjoyed today's episode and that you guys are staying safe out there. Thank you for listening to the GSMC Relationship Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to ask you to please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us. Also, if you can please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, thank you.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Relationship Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.